What up brothers, it's Club King returning for another new review today on the figure you see in front of you, and as you can see it's the Hot Toys Hawkeye from the Age of Ultron. Although I don't score the source material no more, I am still going to tell you, as you know, this figure comes from Age of Ultron, the Avengers 2 movie, and I will say I really like the Hawkeye more so in this film than in the first version. He had a lot more to do, you got a lot more of his story. I would have said backstory, but it's not really his backstory. It's sort of more his family life and sort of his decisions to leave the Avengers towards the end. And I do think they flush out his character a little bit, which I think he did deserve. He did appear in the first Thor movie and obviously the original Avengers movie. And he's not really been a massive player in it. But like I say, I think they did improve his role in the second part. So, rolling onto the packaging, let's start off with the scores. As you can see, it's just a standard Avengers slipcover box, average quality card. Just does what these Avengers box do, houses the figure really nicely, quite presentational and quite uniform to the others. You see you've got a shot of Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye, and it is sort of colour coded like the others are, with the chromed wording on the front, Avengers Age of Ultron. It won't surprise you to know that I'm giving it a 3 out of 5 because they're just as standard could be. But like I said, they are functional, does look pretty good, and the quality of card is average. So, yep, 3 out of 5. Rolling on to Lioness. As we move up, you see, he's taking his sunglasses off so we can have a good look at the awesome head sculpt. I will say, and I've tried and tried, there were a picture on Facebook on Friday and somebody had took a shot of both figures together. I don't have the version 1 Hawkeye anymore, but that picture showed what I already thought, that they captured the Jeremy Renner face sculpt really well this time. I think last time it were pretty good, and for its time it were pretty outstanding really. I think if I were to go back and watch the review, I'd mark that really high. But when they compared the old head sculpt to this one, it just showed up how accurate this one is and how inaccurate the other one now looks. I think they've softened the face up, and by that I mean he's got kind of a, I don't know, his face still looks defined, but he's got a soft look about his face. His features are very soft. He's like slightly puffy cheeks, and I don't know, it's funny to describe. He has sort of jowl section at the sides of his mouth like hamster pouches, and I think they've caught it really well. I think they've got the nose shape really accurate this time, and also the expression lends to the poses a lot better I think on this one. The other one, if you look back at it, it's quite vacant looking, so I thought I'd mention that. I will say that the split between the neck post and the head sculpt does look messy in certain points, in certain poses, so bear that in mind. But all in all, just on the facial likeness, I've got to score it really high because they have done really good work on it. Like I said, definite improvement. I think most would agree that. Some people debate whether it's worth getting rid of the first version of this and getting this one, and some are saying I might just get the head sculpt, but I think everybody sort of concedes that this is definitely the improvement. Also, I will say the spiked hair, the sculpt work on it is really good, really clean. As you can see, styled really well. And so, yeah, I do like that as well. To give it a score, I've got to give it a 5 out of 5 because, like I said, this one, now when I look at it compared to pictures, is pretty much dead on accurate. I don't think you could say it weren't. Moving on to outfit. And this is another category where people have been asking a lot of questions. I will try and cover everything. And just show you the pose first. It's got him pulling the arrow out the quiver. And just about to line one up and blast it off. So, right. As you see, it has the same colour scheme as the first release and does look very accurate to the movie. I think the materials they've used, they've done a really good job because it feels very, very good in scale and also moves around in very well to keep the articulation really high. Obviously, I'll cover that in the next category. So more concerned with the look of the outfit. A lot of people seem to like the sleeveless version 1 outfit, which I did also, I've got to be honest, but because of the single bend elbow that they had to use to keep the arms aesthetically pleasing. It sort of killed an Archer style character. You could never get him into a really good bow pose. It always looked a little bit off. The lines didn't look right. You couldn't quite get his arm tight enough. There were certain tricks you could do to kind of get him tight enough. This one, you can get him dead on. So not only did they change the outfit in the film, they've obviously changed the outfit on the figure. Now, I think they've changed it for the better, because I would take the articulation over the short sleeved look. I don't think the short sleeved look were amazing by any stretch, and I think, like I said, I would sooner have the more accurate Archer style pose. So let's talk about the outfit and the individual parts. The boots are very reminiscent of the first version. It is all one piece and quite an hard sculpt, so it does hinder the ankle articulation. There's nearly no movement in the ankle at all. But I do forgive that because the sculpt on the boot is really good. You see all the buckles and everything around the side. This time he has the speed loaders, which are magnetised and do stick to the side of either boot, which I do like also. Just gives it a little bit of something different. Moving up, the trousers, very reminiscent of the first version. You see, similar colour. It has the belts and buckles. The black looking knee pads. Does again move very, very well. It is a different material, not quite as stretchy feeling as the first version, but does still work really well. Can get a nice spread on his legs, and it doesn't hinder the articulation at all. Moving up, you see this time people have been calling it a jacket, and I've got to be honest and say it's not a jacket as such. It's more a sleeveless waistcoat, because the arm section, so from there down there and obviously from there across, that is actually kind of like a sweatshirt underneath, and then obviously the buckles, the pads and everything, as you see down here, they are all attached to the sweatshirt. You see then it has this really fine red rubber down here coming off the shoulder. That is all the sweatshirt, and then like I say, from there up to there and all around this section is all one piece. It does unzip down the front, so you can completely remove it if you didn't want him wearing the extended waistcoat, but I will say I actually prefer it with that on. The layers on it are very good, very fine. It's not lined, so it keeps it very good in scale. I will say as well, the collar that you can see right up to his face there, that is on the sweatshirt, and then it has like a sort of grandad collar on the waistcoat section. Sort of faux zips down here, but as you come round to the back, it does have a real zip here that is fully working. You can zip it right down to the bottom, although if you open it, it does spread, and it has this sort of netting, which again helps the articulation because his legs will open that little bit wider. And then if we look here, the catch on the back of the waistcoat, and then the quiver just slides into it. Fits really, really nicely this time. It was a bit of a pain in the arse on the first version to try and get the quiver on his back. Not the case with this one. They've really, really improved that also. So as we come round, yeah, what I'm going to do is, I did take some pictures actually and put them on Facebook, but for anybody who's not seen those, I'll put a short pause in here just to show you with the waistcoat off, because I don't want to take it off again. The zip is a little bit fiddly to open and close it because it's so well tailored, but like I say, if I cut now and show you the pictures I put on Facebook. So as you saw, it's a nice option if you just want to display him with the waistcoat off and just with that. Although I will say it does look a little bit skinny when it doesn't have the coat on, which is obviously because you take off the waistcoat and you lose some of the bulk. Because also I will mention, inside the waistcoat in the chest section here and here, there is sort of that foam padding which gives him a fuller chest look, so bear that in mind if you do want to buy it and take the waistcoat off. It is doable, but I prefer it with it on. So the outfit is pretty intricate. I think it's very accurate. It's very, very functional this time, which I do like. And like I said, I do again prefer it over the version 1. So I am going to give it a 5 out of 5. Right, rolling on to articulation. As you can see, I've got him back in the archery style pose. This time as if he's leaping off from something. Just trying to show the bend you would get in the leg, which is pretty tight. That one's pushed back kinda. Like I said, limited articulation through the ankle because it's a solid boot. Moving up, you get a good extension on the arm. The neck, although it's sculpted, is a neck piece, so it does attach at the top and the bottom. So it gives good articulation through the neck, so he could sort of bow his head forward to look down his arm. And then obviously the double bend elbow is a massive improvement and a must, a necessity for me. And it really, I don't know, it really brings this figure out of itself. The things that I didn't like about the first version, this has corrected, and I really like that about it. So just to move back, you see the pose. I've got him on a dynamic flight stand, so you can see all the way around it. So the articulation is good everywhere bar the ankles, but like I said, I forgive that because I like the sculpt of the boot. So I toyed with this. I thought, do I bring it down to a 4? I'm thinking, for the poses I would want, the ankle articulation on this figure wouldn't be a massive necessity, so I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 for articulation. Rolling on to accessories. I'll just scan back and just show you, so you get an idea of the stuff you get. And let's talk you through what he brings. First things first, as you can see, on the head sculpt, you get the nice looking shades, like you got with the first version also. Fit in really nice, and do look very in theme with his costume, which I do like also. Moving down, you see he has the speed loaders, which if you look, just attach onto the side of his boot with a magnet. So you get one on each side, and then you get a speed loader with sort of 9 arrows already attached that don't come apart, but you obviously could pose him with that lined up along the bow, so that's a nice touch as well. The stand, I suppose you can class that as a diorama base and would fit with all the other Avengers. I do quite like them, particularly because they do have a rough feel to them, so when you stand him in a position, it's not sliding about, it does hold his feet. So that's a nice touch. I'm glad they've finally started doing that, because sometimes you pose a figure and I'm thinking something like the Robocop in there, it's got a slidey base and then a metal foot and it just slips all over the place, so I do like this idea. Moving across here, he has 4 spare hands, 3 of which are left hands, so the different like positions for cradling the bowstring. So you've got that, one for holding an arrow, so pointed affair. And then you get the relaxed stands, and then on here you have the bow holding right hand and the string grabbing left. Spare wrist pegs, the instruction manual, which basically just tells you how to do the rest of what I'm going to show you. Now, his quiver, as you can see, it's fully loaded, and I'll show you how you load this one. You put a small arrow down the middle, which just sits in this cradle here and here. So you see it has got a pointed end, and then it's got a flight on it. But if we look inside, the quiver this time, as you can see, pulls open. It's held together with a magnet. Yeah, that holds it together, and then this sort of male and female section that clicks into place. These are what's called in the booklet as long stem arrows. So the ones with the flights on, that's how they come. Although you've got to sit and put the arrowhead on each one, and then what you do is you put one in, and then you put this sort of blank short stem arrow, so you can see down there, just to make it look like the quiver's full. So what you would do is, obviously on this side you would have 6 proper long stem arrows, and then in between them you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4 fake blades, and same on this section as well. You would have 6 real arrows, and then 4 stems sort of in between them as well. You see the flights would stand out the top of the quiver. So it is quite nice, and it's easier to do than the first version where the internal sort of rotated. So it is easier to do it, but it's still very niggly. Moving across, we have the strung bow. As you can see, it's mainly black, but then it has the purple carbon fibre section around the handle. I will say as well, it's a lot more fragile than the first version, and I'm not saying breakable fragile, but very in scale. It just feels better. If you think of the first bow, it had a bulky feel about it, so a very toyish. This done, it feels very, very accurate to the scale. You have the collapsible bow. Obviously there's no string on that, so that's it closed and that's it open. So the speed loader with the 9 arrows, and then here you have a spare long stem arrow which you would pose with the strung bow. This one, as you can see, I've sort of got the grapple hook arrowhead, and then here you have 5 other various arrowheads, that be the explosives and, like I said, grapple hooks and that sort of thing, tracking devices and all that. So it looks like it brings a lot of stuff, but again, once you've got the quiver on his back and his bow in his hand, you're not really left with a lot of stuff in the bag. I was thinking about it, I'm going to get a 3, and I thought, but sometimes I say if it brings an extra head or a spare outfit or a diorama base, I would bump it up. Now this does have a diorama base, kinda, and also you could display it without the coat, which really gives it a look of a second outfit as well. So I thought I've got to be fair and bump the extras up to a 4 out of 5. So value. I'm going to tell you, before I started rolling, I had a look on 16 Bruce, and the price on this figure is £165, which I think is sort of creeping upwards for a UK price. It's a little bit more than we used to pay for the Avengers. Now that could be inflation, I don't know, but like I say, it's sort of getting top end up towards DX prices, but I think you're getting a very, very nice figure. So on the value, if you can pay 165 or less, I'd give you value of 4 out of 5. If you're going to be going up to the new release prices, obviously they're what I pay, and obviously for the first month or so, 6 weeks, you're going to be paying around the £200 mark, maybe just over. Then your value, you've got to start bringing it down to a 3, maybe a 2. So I hope that makes sense. But like I said, on my new scoring, I am going to take into account the local prices. So like I said, I know on 16 Bruce this were £165, but I think the pre-order has now run through. So if that price, I'm giving the value of 4 out of 5. Rolling straight in, I'm going to say the overall score for this figure is 26 out of a possible 30, which is an awesome score. It only got docked 4 points, obviously, and I think that's represented well of how good the figure is. I think in every category it's an improvement on the first. I've seen the first go for like £300+. I sold mine for quite a good price, if I'm honest. But if I had the chance now to buy either at the same price, I would buy this one. It is the better figure all round, for me personally. Others might disagree, but I think in most categories this is the better figure. So yeah, 26, respectable score. Massive thanks to Matt and Steve for buying the 2 that I bought. I'm going to move these on, like I said, get them boxed up, get them shipped out tomorrow, and I hope they're as happy with them as I've been reviewing this one. But for now, this is the Clipper King, and I'm out of here, brothers.